turned 28, catch my first real sentence.
Yeah.
How
long? What was it?
I did 3.5 years.
Okay, yeah.
After losing trial.
Yeah.
I went to trial, I lost trial, and got 3.5 years. And I went to state prison for the first time. Now, this trip was real pivotal. It was pivotal in a sense because that's when I got my first realization that what I was doing, I needed to stop.
Yeah.
Wasn't ready to stop, but I got the first notion. All the other times, it wasn't even a thought.
Yeah.
Am I going to do this again? Well, we were doing it in there.
Yeah.
You know, we were selling drugs in the youth house. I was going home on furlough and bringing weed back in the youth house to sell to people, right? So no thought of stopping at that point. But this time was different because now I had a 4-year-old daughter. I had a 4-year-old daughter. I'm 28 and I'm about to go do 3.5 years away from my daughter.
She was 4 when you went in?
She was 4 when I went in. You know, so I did the 3.5 years in one of the worst, most racist prisons you can be in New Jersey, right? And it was pretty much, you know, half hell, right? So that's when I got my first realization that maybe this ain't the right thing. Yeah. But I still wasn't ready to stop. I thought I was, but there were certain things that when I look back on it, that I was doing that pretty much suggests that I wasn't finished, right? So I got a hold of my first book.
What was it?
Think and Grow Rich. Napoleon Hill.
Yep.
Soft cover. That book opened me up in a way that I didn't think was possible. I'm like, oh, what are they talking about in this book? You know? And that was the first self-help book that put me on my journey. The second one I read was How to Win Friends and Influence People by Andrew Carnegie. Right? Dale Carnegie. And from there I just started reading books. And I started to understand what a mentor was because it's like the minute I started reading these books and that particular corridor of my mind started to open, I started to become introduced with mentors and things like that. So I had one mentor while I was in there, and his name, we worked in a library together. Okay. I worked in a library. That was my way of getting out of the cell and being able to, because we were able to be in there all day until like 5 or 6 o'clock from the morning time. So that was where I needed to be. Yeah. And a guy from Israel worked there with me. His name was Shimoni. Shimoni Roman, I'll never forget. He was older than me. You know, at the time I was 28. Shimoni was probably about 46, the age I am now. Yeah. And he used to always just talk to me and come ask me questions about things. Like he was interested in me. Like intrigued by like, you know, what are you here for? That type of thing, you know. And so we used to always talk, and he recommended me a book. He recommended me As a Man Thinketh by James Allen, right? Great book, small read, about 40 pages. I must have read that book about 15 times, right? And so one day I finally asked him, I said, hey Shimoni, what made you start talking to me? And he just told me, he said, hey, you know, you were one of the only kids that your khakis ain't sagging all day, man. You don't sag. You just don't have that bravado, that same bravado. He said some people, you could look at them and tell they're probably not ready to receive what you have to offer. Yeah. Now, this guy was a multimillionaire from Israel. He was really from Israel. He got caught up on some old cold case files, and he just gave me so much wisdom about business, about life, about religion. You know, brilliant man. Yeah. You know, he knew so much about business, and this is when I learned that we as a people were missing a few things. You know, running around the streets, we don't value ours. I didn't value myself. So I couldn't look at my people in the grand scheme of things and value them either. Or even look to see, I didn't know we had a problem. You know, I'm rocked to sleep in the streets. Like, I don't know. What do you mean, our people? What do you mean?
This is your reality.